Morning! Happy Mother's Day to you. What's happening, folks? Everybody good out there? Yeah, who we got here? We got Gary Walker in the house, wishing everybody a happy weekend. We got my phone ringing. Oh, it's Mr. John Button. John, I just started my live stream, so now you're live with me. Can I? Here, wait, hold on. I'll put you on speakerphone. Okay, say hi.
Hello.
This is John Button.
It's John Button from New York.
John Button from New York. John's out on the road playing bass with the Who. Right?
It's true. I still can't believe it, even though it's been a couple of years. It still sounds crazy to me.
How's it going out there? Everything's awesome, I'm sure.
It's amazing. Everything's amazing.
Good. Well, I better get back to my live stream. Can I call you back later?
Okay, sorry to interrupt.
It's all right.
Talk to you later.
Have fun out there.
Bye.
See ya. He's out on the road doing. They're doing Quadrophenia, I believe, with Symphony. So he's had to come up with a unique bass rig because he's got like violins right beside him and stuff. And so anyway, I believe mainly what he's doing is Helix on this tour. So he's replicating his usual bass rig would be an SVT, and then he's been using a Badger actually for some grind to kind of do the split of the dirt and the grind. So he came up with a dual chain amp rig in the Line 6 Helix. And I guess it's working out pretty good. So they just got to keep the volume down and stuff on this tour because the whole symphony's on stage with them. It's like almost like a oxymoron, right? The Who and volume down. But anyways, GR wants to know who's hitting the tequila this week. Who else we got here? Gary Walker says a great demo this week. Yeah, I put up a video for microphones. Thanks, Gary. I'm glad you liked it. Yeah, the Lewitt microphones. They're really nice. This is my favorite right here. This is the 440. It's a cardioid condenser mic with a true 1-inch diaphragm. You can see the great big, 1-inch diaphragm in there. It sounds great on just about everything I threw at it. Acoustic guitar, electric guitar. Sounded really nice on electric guitar. I don't really like I'm not a big fan of 414s and kind of FET large diaphragm condenser mics on electric guitar. That one sounded great. I do like a couple. The 4050 from Audio Technica was one that I always really loved, if anybody's ever tried one of those. But that thing, it's $200 and something. It's under $300. Sounds just great on electric guitar, great on acoustic guitar, and you can hear it in the video as well as just me talking through it. So if anybody needs a mic for inexpensive recording mic for just about everything, it seems really good. The little one was nice too. The small diaphragm. Well, it's not a small diaphragm, but it's not a true 1-inch large diaphragm. It was called the 240, I believe. But this one really stood out to me. So if anybody's looking for a nice microphone, check out the video and you can hear it. You can also hear the PT-15, by the way, and one of the first things I've done kind of mic'd up with it. So I've got you can see I've got my baffles back there. I think I talked about that last week. The little 212 cabinet sitting back there mic'd up and went, smashingly well. I think I just put up the mic, put it where I thought I should put it, and it sounded great. And that's what you'll hear in the video. Wanted to say I'm doing one more thing. I made a video this week, just yesterday, actually. I finished it, and it's about the length of impulse responses. So this gets geeky for sure. But as you guys know, most hardware IR loaders will truncate impulse responses because you're dealing with DSP and limitations and stuff like that. So you can only load impulse responses of a certain length in most hardware IR loaders, whereas in a computer, a lot of computer plugins will host ones as long as you want. And that's why Celestion makes them in like 200 milliseconds and 500 milliseconds versions. But the question was that I tried to answer in this video: how long does an IR have to be to capture a close mic'd sound, a close mic'd, guitar cabinet sound? How long should an IR be? And are longer ones always better? Does it get better the longer they get and more realistic and all that kind of stuff? So that's what I aim to show in the video. And then, like I said in the video, the spoiler alert is 18.5 milliseconds is the length that years ago, the fellow from Two Notes told me, the owner of the company told me that he felt like in order to capture the full sort of frequency spectrum and a full kind of bandwidth IR or whatever for a close mic sound, he felt like 18.5 milliseconds, and anything under that, you're going to start losing things. Anything over that ended up just being kind of like early reflections, reverb, and stuff like that. So anyway, I demonstrated in the video. So I'll be putting out that video either maybe Monday, Tuesday, something like that. And if you guys are interested in that sort of geeky stuff. Yeah. Okay. Felix guitar technique question from Lemmer David. Could I please show and explain to us the bending technique with addition of his left hand? Oh, I know what you mean. He just literally, like, if he's doing a bend, let's say like a double stop thing like that, he'll just reach behind, and then because you got all this extra strength then from the other hand, so I'm just plopping my finger down behind the bend and then pulling on the strings. So that's it, really. You know, he does that kind of thing, and it just makes the bend sound kind of crazy in a cool way. You know, you could go like, and then kind of slide off or something. It's a neat kind of, it looks cool too, which is always important. So yeah, it's just your first finger smacks down, and then you can kind of hold the pick for a minute between, maybe if you hold it between your thumb and first finger normally, then you can just put it between your thumb and second finger, just grab with your first finger and pull, that kind of thing. Who else we got here in the house? Tim Roberts, I believe, had a good question. Yeah, about the Moore radar, kind of an important question. He's asking, it's an little IR loader box. You're asking, can I go from my Mesa Lone Star effects send into the radar and then into my DAW, or do I need to go through a load box? Yeah, you need a load box. So the reason is because you need a, first of all, mini amps. If you plug like the effects send in to something, you won't get sound out of it. As far as I know, I think that's true for a lot of amps. It doesn't really work like a line out or, you know, send on mini amplifiers. So long story short, I would say no. Don't do that. You need a load box anyway. So, and you're not going to capture the true sound of your amp by only taking a preamp send anyway, even if it did work. You're going to want the full, you know, the power amp and stuff involved in the tone, so, of the amplifier. Although I think there might be some power amp modeling or something in those radar things, but I would highly recommend just getting a good reactive load box and then using that. Yeah. What else we got here? We got Rodney wishing everybody a happy Mother's Day. I agree. Happy Mother's Day to all you folks. You should be hanging with your mom. What are you doing here? Any thoughts on the Kosh dummy load? That's from Gizmodo 6. I don't have any thoughts on it. I think it's a reactive load, resistive load. It's a resistive load as far as I know, that particular one. So it means there's going to be some darkening of the tone, and it might probably sound a little bit MIDI. Graham Campbell says, "Hey Pete, great to catch you live from Scotland. What's up, Scotland? How are you?" You know, we got Surfby in Boston. And let's see. What else we got here? Just kind of moving down through the chat. What's the benefit of a ribbon mic over a dynamic mic, generally speaking, says Thomas. A ribbon microphone tends to capture a very natural sound. A dynamic microphone is not, generally speaking, like very flat sounding, but what it does to the electric guitar sound is kind of can be a kind of pre-EQ'd thing that can make the guitar exciting sounding. I don't know how else to put it, but it's punchy, and it's usually hyped in a way that makes the guitar poke through a mix. So something like a 57 has a punch and and then it kind of rolls off in the low end in a way that that is also beneficial. So like, whereas a ribbon mic, it's going to be kind of a more natural sound, a little bit more of like akin to, oh, that sounds more like my amp in the room or something. That's what I've found. But sometimes that can get a little bit lost in a mix. So it just depends what you're doing. A ribbon mic on a clean amp where you've got a guitar tone that's really like if there's a lot of space in the music, and you want it to be a really natural sound that's kind of pleasing without any harshness. A ribbon mic can be a really great thing all by itself in that case. A ribbon mic blended with a dynamic can be a nice combination of that kind of punchy, edgy, SM57 like, but they can be a little grainy. So sometimes blending in a ribbon can mitigate that graininess a little bit and help to even things out and give you a little bit more of a real sound. They became very popular in the, I guess, late 90s, early 2000s when the Royer mics came out. They would handle a lot of high pressure, sound pressure, so you could put them in front of a guitar amp, and it was a mic that became sort of reasonably readily available and just kind of worked well on guitars. So they became really popular around that time. That all the rage was blending a 57 with a Royer 121, the first product they brought out. And I remember hearing it for the first time and being really like, wow, that sounds the most like my guitar sounds like coming out of the cabinet that I've ever heard, thinking it just sounded really real, and yet still had that 57 element in there that, so folks have gone through different sort of, I don't know, like realizations and opinions about them, I think over time, and maybe have, maybe the pendulum swung back a little bit towards, just the 57 thing. I know some folks like that are really amazing guitar players, like Mike Landau is an example. Scott Henderson is an example. I think for the most part, those guys just prefer 57s because they're like, that's all I want. I want what the 57 gives me, and I don't need anything else. And there is a beauty of just using, using one microphone and getting the sound out of one mic and not blending, because there's always a little bit of like phasing, like even if the mics are pretty much perfectly in phase, there's always a little something that you get blending the two. But I'm a fan of blending for the most part. I don't occasionally I'll just be like, if it's just sometimes a solo where I really wanted to poke through, like, and the 57's giving me everything I want, or if it's like a part that is kind of an auxiliary part that's just going to kind of be in the background, I won't go through the trouble of like blending mics and all this stuff. I'll just use one, try and get the sound out of the one mic. But something about like big, fat rhythm guitar tones where it's really prominent in the mix, and I want it to be like a full kind of, really featured thing with a great tone, I'll tend to blend mics, two generally, no more than two. Interestingly, if you guys use the Celestion, maybe it's interesting. Maybe if you guys use the Celestion impulse responses, recently I became more of a fan of the mixture of the 121 and 57, which is a classic blend that I was just talking about, than the blend of the 121, 57, and 421, which is, includes the extra dynamic mic in there, the Sennheiser 421. Especially on high gain sounds, I found the 121 and 57 sound a little less harsh. The blend of the three microphones that come with the Celestion IRs sounds a little like harsher to me and a little less pleasing or something. And the other one just, just works. So that's, incidentally, we're going to put some of those in the PT15, blend of a 121 and 57 on a V30 and a 412, blend of a 121 and 57 on a greenback and a 412. So those are some that we chose for the amp, which, by the way, they're building like crazy right now. So they're going to be out on time. So if anybody's looking for a PT15, they're coming soon. Probably see I shouldn't say, actually, or John will kill me. I would expect to see within probably 30 days, something like that, some being finished. I don't know how that equates to them getting to stores, but from what I understand, they're coming pretty quick. So yeah, Lost Smoke was asking, I missed it. Was that Pino Palladino? No, it was my buddy John Button. Pino went to play with John Mayer, actually, and so he kind of dropped out of the Who touring. I don't know if that's forever or not. Who knows? Maybe he'll be back someday. But it's John's gig now for since 2017, I guess, or so. So he's been doing it for quite a while now. It's wild to see my buddy with the Who, which is the first music I ever learned. The first song I ever learned on the guitar was "I Can't Explain" by the Who, and I was a huge Who fan. And so now like he's one of my best friends, and he's playing bass with him. It's so weird. Roger and Pete still out there doing it. Where's the shirt from? Says Chris Cam. This is a funny shirt that that a little guy got for me a long time ago. It's a long story, but my little buddy Riley, he wanted to buy me a present, got me a shirt, like when he was like 7 years old or something. That's where the shirt came from. It was selected by a young kid for me for a present. Do I ever use the Nags SSC model? Yeah, I do. I haven't used it for a little while, but it's hanging up there back in my rack, and it's a great guitar. It's got a kind of distinctly sort of punchy, high gain, high output sound. And when I want to cut something with a high output pickup, because as you guys know, I generally don't do high output pickups that much, but occasionally it's the right thing. When I want a hot, distorted tone that's like specifically that thing, I would go towards that guitar. It is a really great guitar. It's got a nice neck on it too. Jasco says he's seeing The Who tomorrow at Madison Square Garden. That's cool. So yeah, let us know. Come back and see me next week here and let us know what you thought. Let us know how John did. He sounds great with him, I think, until he kills it back there. Okay, Brett says, happy Mother's Day to all the moms. Hi from Seoul, Korea. What's up? It's Mr. Cho from Seoul, Korea. I hope that I get there sometime soon to do a clinic of some sort. I'm trying to push for that because the Sir dealers in South Korea have asked if I would go over and do clinics many times, and I'm trying to just work on that. So I'd love to get over there and do that, like a whole actually in Asia run for my clinic using the new amplifier. Leon asks, how do I go about setting my amp EQ when playing a telly? I find the settings I use for a Strat end up sounding narrow with a telly. That's interesting. Narrow. Well, a telly for me, many times you got to roll down the tone control a little bit. That's one thing. Like, don't be afraid to use the tone control on the guitar. That can be a factor. But not all tellies are created equal. It's a hard thing sometimes, trying to get different guitars to work with the same tone control settings on any amp, I think. Definitely with Les Pauls going to Strats, it's gain and treble and bass and everything have to change many times. So, but I would say, a helpful thing for me is having on my Strats, having the tone control on the bridge pickup. One of the tone controls wired to the bridge pickup, so I can dial the tone back to like 7 on the bridge pickup, which I find to be quite bright on Strats. And then setting the tone by listening to kind of the neck pickup and the middle positions, the different pickup combinations, getting it to sound bright enough there so that the neck is clear. And then when I hit the bridge, I'll then kind of, if the bridge is a little too dark, a little too bright, depending on where I got that tone control, I'll set that last. So in other words, set up the tone controls on the amp for the guitar using the other pickup positions, not the bridge position. And then just deal with probably having to roll down the tone when you're on the bridge. I don't know. I find that works for me with just about any guitar, actually. It's part of why I've got an Alnico Thorn magnet in the Thornbuckers, because I find that in order to get enough clarity out of like the middle position on a Les Paul, the neck position on a Les Paul with the Alnico 5, that works nicely in those pickups because it gives you a little more treble and stuff. But the Alnico 4 pickup tends to mitigate that brightness, and it tends to tone it down. Just in the bridge pickup specifically, it tends to help a little bit. So anyways, it's always a balance. But yeah, long story short, like setting the tone controls on your amps using the neck and middle positions or whatever you've got on your guitar, whatever kind of guitar it is, can be a good thing. And then kind of hitting the bridge position. If it's too bright, then rolling the tone down. Try that. I don't know if that really answers your question, because on the telly you got a master tone, but I find generally speaking, I got to roll down the tone control on the telly just a little bit. That's a common thing that a lot of people do, I think, that are telly players. What else we got here? Thanks for the referral of the Electro Harmonix EL34, says Glenn. They sound great. They do sound good, right? They're a good tube, and they seem to be reliable, which is so important. You don't always want to have to be, dealing with, EL34 is messing up, that's for sure. And the JJ1 seems super sketchy at best these days. I think I like the tone of the EH is better anyway. So there's that, you know. Yeah, what else we got here? Have I seen the RJM pedalboard controller 6X small switcher packed with cool features? I haven't particularly looked at that one yet, but RJM makes great stuff. I've owned a lot of their gear. I've got one of their ABY boxes under my desk right here. And I have one of their switchers, actually. It's in my storage space. I just haven't used it on a pedal board as of yet, but it's a great switcher. It was just a little big for the one that I've got down here, but now you say they've got a smaller one even, so that could be cool. Leon is in the top chat. He's in the UK, and I appreciate it. He says, get a drink on me, Pete. You're some man. Thanks, Leon. I will do that. I've got a friend's birthday party to go to tonight, so I'll take you up on that. I'll have a beverage on you. Thanks, Leon. My way huge mug. Good stuff. Got 310 people online. Happy Sunday. Happy Mother's Day to you all. Nice to have you all here. And say hi to your mom for me. Pizza's high. Okay. Moving down. Can I talk about the Queen gig? So yeah, I had a really good time this week going to play with Mark Martel, the amazing singer that can do Freddie Mercury so well, as well as many other things, because he sounds incredible in his own right. But yeah, I had a great time. So the Queen gig. So it was a private gig in. You know what? I'll talk. Somebody else was just got up in the top chat, so I'm gonna hit that, and then I'll get back to the Queen thing. It's Henrique, and he's asking, have I tried tempered frets? Any thoughts? I have not. I only have really experience with stainless steel and nickel frets, but tempered frets is not something I've tried. Sorry, I wish I could. Thanks for doing the top chat. I wish I could offer some insight into that. If you ask me next week, I'll try and remember to ask Sir. Maybe if I'll be talking to him this week. I always talk to him, so I ask him what he thinks about those. Get some feedback for you. The Queen gig. So yeah, it was a private party, and there was a lot of people there. It was great. It was for a software company, and they were having like a big convention, a lot of their clients there and stuff like that. So one of those big kind of corporate parties, but it was super fun. They had like a silent DJ thing before us, and I'd never seen anything like that, but it's everybody with headphones on, listening to music, and there's no music coming through the PA, and then you can select different DJs. There's like 3 DJs on stage, and to me, it seemed like, God, that sounds isolating. Like we need to be any more isolated. There's already people on their phones at parties and stuff, but everybody seemed to be having a great time. They were all singing at the top of their lungs and stuff, which was hilarious because there was no sound coming through the PA. So it's just a bunch of people singing in unison with headphones on. So that was unique. And then we got up and did I guess about an hour and 15-minute set, something like that. And it was wild because I literally had no rehearsal. I had a little bit of a sound check with them. So I got to run maybe 4 or 5 songs, but we did 13 tunes or 14 songs, I think. And like, I'd never played Bohemian Rhapsody with them. I'd never played Killer Queen. We just played it, and I played the guitar. I did what I was supposed to do, and it went really, really, really well. I made like a couple clams, but that was it for the whole night, and I was pretty proud of myself actually, because it was a lot of prep, a lot of work. That music's like playing classical music. It's not like playing blues rock. Well, unless it's like Hammer to Fall or We Will Rock You or one of those tunes, those Brian May kind of written guitar parts that are in the key of A and very guitar oriented. But all the other stuff is like, wow, key of F, and a lot of soloing and kind of unfamiliar keys and stuff, and chromaticism going on. You got to play the parts, because if you're 1/2 step off or something, it's gnarly, and then you're lost and out in the weeds. So it took a lot of concentration and stuff, but it went really well. I used the AX8 from Fractal, the other guitar player that plays, their main guitar player that plays in that band. It's not the other guitar player, that does him a disservice. He's a fantastic guitar player named Tristan Avakian from Toronto. Anyway, he's the guitar player in the Ultimate Queen Experience band, and he sent me his AX8 patches, so I used those and just tweaked them a little bit to my liking. I used a Cornish treble booster in front of the AX8, which incidentally worked fine, running into the modeler. and then just came stereo line out of that to the PA. They gave me a little QSC wedge in front of me so that I could get a little bit of guitar in the wedge and get a little bit of feedback going and stuff. And then I was on in-ears. And I don't know what else. I had an expression pedal there that was hooked up to do some crazy delay madness with, and also a little bit of volume stuff. And I played that red special guitar for the whole gig, except for a rental Strat on Fat Bottom Girls because it was in drop D. So I just picked up the Strat, and I barely had any time with that. I just tuned it and went, okay, like whatever, rental Strat, and just played that song on that guitar. And it's just a rhythm kind of basher anyway, the chords. And anyway, it was great. And Mark was incredible. The whole band was great. He in particular, he sings his ass off and just was a great guy. And so I had a really great time. Somebody else is in the top chat. Oh, it's Tim Robertson. He says, Pete, thank you for answering my question. I was about to pull the trigger on that piece of gear. Love your channel. Thanks for sharing your gift with us. Ah, man, you're too kind. I don't know. I just do what I can. I would say, Tim, without towing the company line too much, your question was about the load, right? Look at the reactive load, the Sur reactive load with IRs. That's what you want, really, for your Lone Star. It'll be a great addition to that amplifier, and it'll help you do all kinds of stuff. It's a lot more money than just a radar, but you need the load box. So, you want an IR loader and the load box to do what you were shooting for there. So. Lonnie is in the top chat, and he says, thanks for everything. He's up in Canada. Thanks, my homie in Canada. I appreciate that. Thank you, guys. Okay, who else we got here? Thanks for doing the top chat to all you fellas, by the way. Just double reiterate that because it's really kind of you. I appreciate it. Steve says, thanks for your time today. I'm streaming on my 75-inch TV. Gotta love technology. Steve, that's crazy. The TVs are crazy now, right? Like when I go in Best Buy, it seems like every time I go in there, there's some new thing where, I bought a TV like 3 years ago or whatever, and it still looks great to me, and it's very thin and all that, and it's 50 inches, I guess. And you go in now, and there's always something that's like for $399. There's a curved screen TV that's 1,000 inches or whatever. I guess but who knows? Maybe with all these new tariffs coming in and stuff like that, everything's going to start going up. I don't know if TVs will or not, but it's bonkers to me, the prices and what you can get these days for your money when it comes to televisions. They look like every time you go in, it's like more hyper realistic, and it was just 4K and now it's 5K. It's hard to keep up with all this stuff, isn't it? But my old 50-inch 4K TV looks fantastic to me, so I'm going to roll with that for a while. How do you connect your reactive load to your API A2D high-Z input? You can take the which reactive load do you have? Do you have the reactive load IR or the older one that's passive? If you got the newer one, you can connect it to the input on the back using what's the output on a reactive load? I can't remember if it's XLR or TRS. Anyway, you're fine plugging into the line input on the back. You can run into the on an A2D. It doesn't really matter. You could listen. You can run a standard guitar cable if it's short, 6 feet or something like that. Run it out of the high Z out on your reactive load and go right into the high Z input on the front of your A2D, and it'll probably sound fine. And then you're going to be going through whatever that, probably line DI circuitry is in the A2D. I would listen to both and see what sounds better to you. I find it works fine both ways, especially if you're just using a short cable. If you can go into the line input on the back though, XLR and, I think I'm trying to remember on an A2. I'm looking at my A2D right now, and I just can't remember if the switch labeled mic on the front. If you use the input on the back, I think the input on an A2D is high Z and maybe low Z, depending on what you're plugging into it. Like if you plug the TRS cable into the line input on the front of the A2D, I think it's a TRS line in. If you plug in a high Z cable in there, it'll be high Z. I'm not 100% sure. You might want to look at the specs or something online just to make sure. But long story short, try both and see which one sounds better. That's what I would recommend. And the high Z will work just fine if that's what you want to do. Metalhead Hippie says, that he ordered the Seymour Duncan Dark Sun. He's up in the top chat. Thanks, dude. Get it in tomorrow. Thanks for the demo and recommendation. Hope it's worth the money. I think you'll find it's worth the money. I liked it. I mean, it's I was actually going to use it on something the other day because I was like, I want an ambient kind of modded sound, moddy. Oh, I'll get that pedal. I want to use that pedal. And my buddy Rob borrowed it. And it's like, I was like, ah, shit, because I didn't have it here. And so I used something else. But that was my instant reaction. Oh, that's the pedal I want to use for that sound. You know, it's got a great, the reverb especially is just got this really great decay to it that, I don't know. It's just it's like, yeah, that's the sound I want or whatever. The way they tuned it in, it's one reverb sound, but it's a great sound. You know, so that says a lot, I think. Like, I don't know. I'd rather have a box that does one thing and it just sounds awesome, you know, and then you can vary that thing more high end, less high, like tune because you can do all that with it, the EQ and stuff. Like, I don't need plate reverb and hall reverb and reverse reverb and, well, reverse is a different thing. And actually, the reverse is really special in it because it does that too. But my point being, you know what I'm saying? Just the simplicity to me. If you got one great sound that you can tailor just a little bit, that's great for most of us, right? I think. So, you know, it's a great piece of gear. I think you'll find it was worth the dough. It's also just easy to use, which goes a long way. It's deep enough that there's enough options there for different types of, you know, ping pong delays and you know, like I say, tuning the top end, the low end, and it's got modulation, or you don't have to use modulation. You can kind of make it sound analog or tape-ish if you want to. You can add distortion. You know, you can tailor it enough, and yet it's pretty simple to use. So it's a cool device. It's really good. Let's see. Mr. Hard Rocker says, any thoughts on getting a 5150 overdrive or a precision drive going straight into audio interface and amp sims? Nothing wrong with doing that. Like, it'll probably sound great in front of, like, say, the clean channel on the PT100 amp sim that we have for UA, the Brainworks one. I bet the 5150 sounds good into that. You know, the high Z input on a unit like the UA, it's tailored for an instrument. So in theory, you're plugging into, it's the same impedance and all that stuff as like the input on an amplifier. So, you know, all things considered, you should be pretty cool plugging in a distortion pedal or a fuzz, or, you know, the one thing is you're going to go into an analog to digital converter. And if you plug in something that just boosts the hell out of the front end of that high Z input, at some point, you're going to clip that front end, you know, that A to D converter, which is not a good sound. So just be aware of that. Like, you know, that the output should be somewhere around unity. Like, in other words, I don't know if I'd be using treble boosters. Although I did just do that this week. I used a treble booster into and I thought about it too, but treble booster into the, I was looking like I have it here. I don't, but the AX8, right? The fractal. And, you know, I'm boosting like one frequency pretty hard into the front end of that unit, but it had plenty of headroom. It had no problem with it. It actually sounded great for a solo boost, running that Cornish treble booster into the AX8. I quite enjoyed using the X8 this week, I must say. It did sound really good. It was like playing with the band and not a lot of sound check time, not their own sound guy, a little bit of chaos, like as far as the panning goes and stuff in the in-ears, because you guys know how I feel about in-ears. I'm not crazy about them. All that said, the AX8, it sounded great. It was like the guitar in my ears with Tristan's patches and stuff that he had sent to me. It felt really good playing. I just rolled with it and did it. And with that unfamiliar guitar with the massive, like, you know, log neck on it and everything. And I just used all that stuff and it worked really well. So anyways, it was good. Rico USA is in the top chat. Thank you, my friend. He says, in your studio, have you ever tried making your aux as a cab out of your Ampete or as a speaker cabinet? Yeah, that's what I do. I would love to put 8 heads into the aux from the Ampete. I'm not sure that is possible. Yes, no, it is possible. That's exactly what I do. So on the Ampete unit, you can't really see the buttons the way they're labeled. Right here, there's this is all the amps 1 through 8, and then this is all the speaker cabs 1 through 8. And I've got them labeled Reactive Load, aux, XL. That's for the fractal load. And then I've got 4 and 5, labeled as speaker cabinet 1 and speaker cabinet 2 when I've got my cab room here dialed in then that's where, you know, I could push those to access the cabs that are in the other room. But long story short, you're fine to hook up a load box to those speaker outputs on the on the MP. You can totally do that. So if you want to run a bunch of heads into the aux, all good. You're good to go. Feel no fear in ordering that thing and just go for it. Works great. Okay. Steve says, oh, that was Steve with the 75-inch TV, right? Fell back in the chat there. Sorry. Moving down. 77 Rockman said something, but then he, I missed the first part of what he said, because then he said, but anyway, keep playing your awesome guitar. Sorry, I missed the first part of whatever you said. Happy Sunday, says Eric. Enjoying the live stream. Thank you, sir. Thanks for being here. All right. Any experience using SLOs live or recording? That's from Ed. That'd be the Soldano SLO. A little bit. I used one sitting in for a set of music with the mighty Warren Haynes and Government Mule, because they have a, you know, Warren's a big SLO user, and they have one that's a spare. And I flew to, it was one of my favorite New Year's Eves, the New Year's between 2008 and 2009, New Year's Eve 2008. I played a whole set of music with Government Mule. It was so fun at the Roseland Ballroom in New York City. And so I used Warren's backup SLO for that whole set, and it was great. I actually really quite liked it. There's videos of that show online. If you look Government Mule New Year's Eve 2008, you can find videos. It's a nice one of Say Hello to Heaven, where I got to take a solo, and it was a whole set of Seattle music. So we played like songs by Pearl Jam and Soundgarden and Temple of the Dog, Alice in Chains. It was a lot of fun. It's crazy. That's 11 years ago now. Bonkers. Brett says PT15 or PT100, which to buy? Well, it depends what you want to do, you know. Both great. I mean, I'm super hot on the PT15 right now, obviously, but the 100 is obviously been my main live amp for 10 years. If it depends on what you're doing. If you play in town and you're mainly, you know, you're playing a lot at home, you want something super versatile, it's a no-brainer, you know, just go get the PT15. Plus it sounds humongous. Like, it's 15 watts, but it's, if you listen to listen to the guitar tone on the video I just did yesterday. I put it up for the microphones, Lewitt microphones. And if you go in about, you know, 8 minutes or something, I don't know how far into the video it is, but listen to the tone of just the rhythm guitar with the microphones on the cabinet. It sounds, it doesn't sound like any 15-watt amp I've ever heard. I'll put it that way. It sounds like, you know, just a ballsy, like, you know, just a defined, crunchy, fat, like tight, you know, I mean, you can make it sound loose. If you start driving the power section, all of a sudden the 6v6s do that 6v6 thing, which is a great sound in it. That's what I love about it, is like it'll transition from that. It's a great output to the 6v6. It does such a great thing all the way through the spectrum, from sparkly down low and kind of, you know, what we think of as Fendery or something, you know. It's got a great character. And then as you turn it up, they do this great sort of brawny grind. I don't know how else to describe it, but it's this, you know, that Tweed Deluxe thing that's not, you know, dissimilar to, it's not EL34-ish really, but it's not, it's also not 6L6. It's somewhere in the middle, I guess. You know, it's got this great flattening kind of brawny grind. I don't know how else to describe it. It's really cool. I'm going to do more with the PT15 today. You know, I'm putting up that IR video, but I want to do a video where I just play simple stuff through each of the channels with the cabinet mic. And you guys can, I want to really show what each channel sounds like on the amplifier. If you guys got any suggestions for songs, I'm trying to think of some good stuff to play, like some great clean stuff. I'll maybe pick some Hendrix or something, or I don't know, just some Tom Petty, or I'll try and come up with some stuff where it's, because I want to show the character channel 1 and just, you know, that type of thing. L. Scott Music says Lewitts are great. Those are the microphones I used in that video. We've been big fans of Lewitt for some time, he says, over at the PLAP Academy. Yeah, I like them a lot. I think they're really good. Christopher is up in the top chat. Thanks, my friend. He says, thanks for taking time today for all us guitar nerds. What are examples of your favorite always-on pedals for clean or slightly pushed Strat tones? That's a great question. You know, I just got these, like I love a compressor. Okay, that's number one. So just before I tell you about these other pedals, great compressors that I really enjoy. The GL2, I think it's called. Is that the right name, from Keeley? I hope I'm saying it right. It's a 3-knob compressor that basically is like a miniaturized DBX 160. They call it a limiting amplifier, but I think it's called the GL2. Anyway, it's the Keeley. It's a black pedal, small pedal size of a Phase 90 or whatever with 3 knobs. That once you turn that thing on a clean sound, you just don't want to turn it off. It's great. The Carl Martin compressor is another really nice one. You know, Andy Timmons never turns it off. He uses the Carl Martin compressor on all the time on the same setting, I think. I find that really interesting. I hope I'm right about that, but as I understand it, it's an always-on pedal for him. Really, really great sounding guitar compressor. Now, having said all that, let me show you these guys. I have 2 here. I only tried just one of these, but these are new pedals from Exotic. This is it's called the Super Clean, and it's kind of a buffer booster. And then I have another one here, the Super Sweet. This one I haven't plugged in yet. This one I did, and it sounds really nice. And it's got some dip switches on the side for maybe to shift the frequencies a little bit and control EQ. I got to read a little bit more about it to understand them, but this pedal sounded just great, and like it just kind of like enhances your, the amp tone. It does something different than just turning up the amp. Okay, the switch is high cut, high mid boost, low mid boost, bass boost. Default all off is mid boost. Okay, so it boosts mids a little bit, this pedal. In the all off position, it is affecting the tone a little bit, and it's called the Super Sweet. So maybe it just aims to kind of boost a certain frequency that the Exotic guys feel like is, guitar enhancement. And this one does the same thing. I think this one of these just has more gain than the other, and I'm not sure which is which. One of them's like 10 dB a gain, and the other one's like, 30 or something. I can't remember. So those are a nice kind of, booster, buffer, tone enhancer. It's hard to explain. Like, why would you want to have a pedal that like changes the tone necessarily in front of it? But it did when I turned it on. I went, oh, that just does sound better. Just kind of like it's like a better button. It gives you a little bit of boost, and just the guitar tones seem to just like take on a more prominent, like, in your, I don't know. I sound like I'm a salesman right now. I'm going to give these a try and probably make a video of them, but it did just sound better, is what I'm getting at. So these would be candidates for an always on pedal, I guess. And I'll make a video so you can hear what they sound like. Yeah. So there's some suggestions for, good compressor in front of clean just makes it, for me, it's always a good thing, just makes everything a little bit easier to play. Nathan D's in France. He says, how's it going? Pretty good. I wish I was over in France. I do. I miss that place. Miss it. Hope to go there again soon. Pete, has the PT15IR started shipping? No, not shipping yet, but they're building them. Here, I'll show you a photo. They've been waiting for some of this stuff, like, panels or something like that, and for the silk screen panels to come in, they're supposedly all done, and they're getting them next week. So in the meantime, they were building, I was just going to show you a photo here on my phone. Oh, it's in a text. In the meantime, just to prove that they're being built, there's a whole bunch of boards being assembled and stuff like that. So they're putting them all together. They've been just getting the boards already and stuff like that. And then waiting for all the other stuff, and then there's they said basically everything's all there. I think they were just waiting on panels and stuff. So anyway, soon. The goal is was shipping in June, and they're totally on track for that. And yeah, more videos are on the way soon. Like I just said earlier, I want to do somewhere I'm playing a bunch of different stuff through the different channels on the amp, so you can really hear what they sound like. You're really technical and you rock and roll, says 77 Rockman Metalhead. Thank you. I am a little too technical, maybe. You didn't say too technical. It wasn't a critique. I get it. But why don't more guitar players play stereo live? I don't know. It's hard to go back once you play stereo. It's kind of addictive, especially if you got to use in-ears or something. But yeah, once you hear that delay bouncing around or something, it's like, oh, that sounds better. Oh, Mickey says, you inspired me to get an Eventide H9 Max. Great pedal. Fills so many gaps on my pedal board. Are you still using yours? Yep, I still have 2 on my pedal board. Yeah, they are great pedals. They do pretty much anything that you could want. I'm going to do a video actually for their new delay. Have you guys seen that? It's called the Rose, I think. I have it here, and I was thinking, okay, I got to get on that this week and get that one done. So I'll get that coming. And, you know, these ones as well. I've got lots of videos coming this week. Oh, I've got a great phaser here. I used this in the microphone video, actually, for the clean part that you heard if you watched the Lewitt mic video. But this is a, it's Walrus, right? Walrus Audio, the Lillian. And it's a terrific either 6 or 4 stage phaser. It sounds really nice. Nice option for phaser. Pretty great. Oh, somebody's up there in the top chat. And it's Gearathon. And he didn't ask a question. He just did the top chat. Sent me some. What is that denomination? SEK. Is that from Denmark? I think it is, right? That somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's Denmark. I could be wrong about that. But how do you say that? SEK. So, I don't know. I think that's. I think you're in Denmark, but I could be wrong. Are there any guitar parts that have stumped you? Oh, many. Where, you know, like you play it one way for years and you're like, I don't think I got it quite right. And then you realize years later that you don't. Can I wish your mom a happy Mother's Day? Daniel Moore, happy Mother's Day to Daniel Moore's mom. I hope you're well. To all the moms out there. If there's any mothers watching, I know it's mostly dudes, but maybe there's some moms out there watching too. Happy Mother's Day to all you moms. What are you doing watching some guy talk about guitar gear? You should be, you know, being wined and dined by your kids. Okay, what were we talking about? Songs with parts that have stumped me, right? You know what's a hard one is that just the first thing that came to mind that I could, because I can play a lot of Van Halen stuff, right? But I can never seem to get the tapping part at the beginning of Mean Street. There's one part that I can't seem to turn around on it fast enough. So where it goes right there at the end. So that right at the end there. I can never right there. I can't seem to flip my hand fast enough to do that. So I've never actually been able to play. I can play the next part, the tapping part. You know, whatever. But that rhythmic thing, that was always a really, really hard. Maybe I'm doing it wrong or something, but I don't think so. Just could never seem to get fast enough to do it with flipping my hand back and forth. I have the TC Mojo and El Mocambo overdrives, says Mr. Campbell. Any tips on dialing them in to complement each other? El Mocambo, isn't it the Tube Screamer-esque kind of one, right? I would put it in front if it is. And the Mojo is more of just a straight up kind of overdrive, right? So yeah, I would say run the gain low on the El Mocambo and run it in front of the Mojo and run the output up high on the El Mocambo and hit the Mojo with it, as you would like a Tube Screamer into a crunchy amp. Set the Mojo for crunch. So yeah, try that. Try turning down the gain on the El Mocambo and turning the output up maybe close to all the way, 3/4 of the way up, and just experiment. And then maybe turn down the tone control a little bit on the El Mocambo and you know, below noon, and see how that works for a lead boost into the Mojo. And okay, Lost Smoke says there's so much fuss about Klon's Centaur clones. Is there a different overdrive pedal that you prefer which doesn't mess with your tone? like kind of a flat overdrive. Not that I prefer. I actually like the Klon sort of messing with my tone. I like what it does. But there is Klons that don't. For instance, if you get the Steve Stevens version of the Klon, what Steve didn't like exactly what you're talking about, the certain, as I understand it, the certain sort of mid-forward character that a Klon does, and he wanted to have more control over that. So his version, the Rockaway Archer Overdrive, which was a demo of on my channel that I did with him where we recorded a tune together, it's got an EQ, and you can then tune the EQ however you want. But if you set the EQ flat, you're just getting like a Klon with no tone shaping stuff going on. It's just got a volume and a gain. So try that. Maybe look at that at Steve's Rockaway Archer. You're going to get a natural overdrive without the certain kind of forward mid character of a Klon. It's just going to be the drive. Sometimes I fascinate myself with my answers to these questions. I had it. No, that's a good one to check out. What else? If I think about things that aren't Klon sort of based, natural sort of overdrives that don't seem to really have a ton of effect on the guitar character. Anything kind of MOSFET kind of sounds natural to me. You might try the like a Fulltone full drive with the flat mids. That was always like it's more like a Tube Screamer style pedal, but in a similar way with flat mids. That's another option. Yeah. David Smith says Jimi Hendrix used to do that bend. I think you're talking about that Phil X style bend with the finger behind the neck. Did he? I never seen Jimmy do that. It's cool though. So now we know where Phil got it. When am I playing at the Baked Potato? I don't know. I was going to go there last. Philip Sace played there last night. I was at the Hollywood Vampires show last night at the Greek Theater here in LA, and which was fun. I got that band now. I understand what they're about. Because I kind of didn't get it for a little bit, and now I understand. My friend Glenn Sobel plays drums with them now, and he was amazing. He killed it, and they had some special guests, Marilyn Manson and Steven Tyler. So that was fun. It was fun. But anyway, after that, I was going to go to see Philip at the Baked Potato. But I was so tired, and by the time I got home, I literally just felt I was like, okay, I can't do that. I ate something really quick, and then I went home, and I was asleep by 12:30, just out and done. Pete, do you still have that gold top Les Paul you played in the Badger 18 video? Did I play my gold top Les Paul in the Badger 18 video? How interesting. I don't even remember that, but no, I don't. I sold it to a fella, actually. That's a question from Julio, by the way. I sold it to a fellow a long time ago, and he still has it, I think. A guy named Joe. Nice guy. Got a sneeze. Anyway, it was a cool guitar. Had a really big neck, though. The neck on it was kind of like not exactly what I wanted. You know, just kind of one of those standard sort of the 57 size Gibson custom shop neck, which in my opinion is way too big, and those guitars didn't really feel like that. But I've played plenty of old ones, and I've never played one with a neck the size of what they put on the new ones, you know. Specifically the 57s and the 58s. Okay, moving down. Caffeine Thug says, just got Nerd and Pete Thorn 2. Guess you mean Guitar Nerd, and put them in my daily next. Good stuff, man. Thank you. Appreciate that. I'll be sending more copies of Guitar Nerd this week to CD Baby because they ran out already. CD Baby's funny. This is the company that I use to, you know, where they sell my CDs. CD Baby tends to sell. They don't want to have a ton of stuff in stock that they don't sell. I get that. But when they've got something that consistently sells, they'll still send you a restock request for like 20 CDs. And it's like, I'll sell through 20 CDs at CD Baby pretty quick. Thank you, folks, for buying my CDs. I do appreciate that. But I wish they would send me, can I just send like 100? Because it just means I got to go to the post office like once every week and a half or something like that, or week or whatever, because they sell pretty, like, you know, not like hotcakes, but it's like, you know, I'll sell a couple a day. So it's like, now you got to take a box, you know, ship 20 to CD Baby, and like a week later you're getting a restock request and you got to make another box and do another shit. It's like I'd rather send like a box this big with 100 CDs in it and do it once and then hear from them, and hopefully in 2 or 3 months or something they hit you up and ask you to send another one. It would make more sense. It'd be less time having to go to the post office, which we all don't like to do. Yeah. Phil X is partially insane, says Chris Locke. He's pretty sane. He's a high energy dude with just incredible energy, and he's a positive dude. And I don't know. I love Phil. He's great. He's my Canadian brother. He's a good good force in rock and roll right now. We need that, good old fashioned rock and roll. He's out there doing it on a high level. If anybody hasn't heard his new, he's got an album out with the Drills, and I don't know if the whole thing's come out or if he's just put out a single, but it sounds great. JJ Kane says, "Are we ever going to see a Sur dealer in Ireland? We have none." That's interesting. I didn't know that. A great question. I should ask them this week about that. Maybe they can hook something up. Who knows? L. Scott Music, Lauren says, with IR programs, is it better to add room via reverb or on a close mic, or pull the mic back to add room and air? Well, generally speaking, they don't give you a lot of those options as far as most of the IRs I know. Like for instance with Celestion, they're all close mic, but then they do give you some room mics. So if you want to use room mic stuff within a DAW, what I find is what works great is like the room mics sound awesome for the Celestion IRs if you want to add some room that way as opposed to using a reverb. So get like mix is exactly what I do. You can use Mix IR2 in your DAW and use the close mic Celestion IR of your choice. And then in slots like 2 and 3, so that do that in slot 1. And then in slots 2 and 3, put the room left, room right, hard pan them in the plug-in and mix them in at about 5 or 6% or something like that, with the other one mixed at 50%. I don't want to get too far out in the weeds here, but Mix IR2, the way that the mix sliders work, it doesn't always equate to like, you can just, if one's at 50% and that's the only IR that's on, it's at 100%. If you put an IR in at 50% and another one at 50 and another one at 50, it doesn't mean 150 and it gets too loud. It just pre-mixes them all the way up to 100%. I don't know, blah, blah, blah. But just use your ears. So put in the close mic 1 in the first slot, and then in slots 2 and 3, have hard pan the left and right ones, and then just pull them in a little bit, and you'll get this great, roomy thing going on that works just killer. I think it's better to do that method than to probably try. I don't know if there's any IRs out there where the mic is like 4 feet back from the amp. I guess some of the Ownhammer ones are like that, where the mic is kind of far back. He's got so many. When you get an Ownhammer package, there's a good, as you guys know, if you've bought them, there's a million IRs in there, and it can take a long time to go through them all. But he has some in there that are maybe 3 inches back or 4 inches back or 6 inches back from the amp, and I guess you'll get some early reflections in those. But I would suggest doing the Celestion thing, close mic IR, room mic, because by the way, they're all in phase. They've made them all in phase, so you can blend in those rooms in any level, and it works perfectly in phase, and sounds just great. Give that a try. Gary says the PT-15 sounded awesome on the Lewitt demo, and the solo was killer. Thanks. The tones from the PT-15 are huge. I'm a massive, I think you're a massive fan of Marshall on steroid sound. Yeah, and it does that totally. And there's no pedals on there either on the PT-15. The solo and all that. That's just, I was using the gain up to about, it's still set that way actually. All the tone controls on 5 and the gain's on about 8 on the amp, and it was just all amp gain that you were hearing there. So, and I'm glad you like it. I love it too. I mean, it's such a stellar amp. People are going to freak, I think, when they get to try it themselves in the store and stuff. That's what I'm waiting for. I cannot wait for like June and July for people to go, holy shit, like I tried this thing, and it's, this is one thing to hear it on the internet and hear me play it and stuff, and then to get it in your own hands and realize what it actually sounds like, even through headphones, like with the phones plugged right into the amp on the front. People just go like, they try it and they trip, because it's just really great sounding. Jennifer says Phil X is a genius. She's in the top chat. Studying him will make you a better player. Buy his record. She's swearing. Jennifer, you may have noticed but she's abbreviating her swearing, so it works. If you swear in the if you cuss in the chat, it'll block your thing, which I know drives you crazy, I bet. Thanks for doing the top chat though, Jennifer. Happy Sunday to you. Yeah, Phil is great. He's fantastic. We agree. It's always good to hang with him, and I miss him when I don't get to see him for a while because he's good energy. So 2-4. Oh, I need my reading glasses for this one. Hold on a second. 24 Zep ACDC. Oh yeah, God, these things help me see better. I'll just leave them on for a minute. I just got my aux box and use it to record into my Focusrite interface, but the sound felt like it was missing something. Is the solution on Apollo or better interface? That's a good question. You know, I don't know if it's that or if it's it could be, you know. All things considered, I think on consumer sort of, you know, on interfaces that are costing anywhere from, let's say, you know, $399 to $2,000, I don't know if there's a hell of a lot of difference in the converters and stuff these days. I mean, everything's got pretty good, you know, good solid analog to digital converters. If you're really feeling like something's missing, I would start looking elsewhere, like oh, maybe it's the speaker cabinet choice I used, or maybe I should have used the speaker drive in the aux and brought that up a bit to kind of give it a little bit more. You know, there's probably some other things in the aux you could mess with first before like bailing on your interface. Although I'm a huge fan of the UA stuff, and you know I use those. So that's my favorite interfaces. David Smith says, "How is Jeff Beck's trem set up to stay in tune?" You know, the funny thing about Jeff Beck, his trem is floating, and he's got a lot of pull up. Probably much like Scott Henderson, like where you can pull up like I don't know, something like a major third or something on the G string. With Beck, I saw the last time I saw him at the Hollywood Bowl, which was in about, I think it was probably 2016, the summer of 2016. I want to go see him again, by the way. He's playing Hollywood Bowl in September with Rod Stewart. I think it's September. And I really want to go see that show. But anyway, he never tuned the whole show. I mean, I watched, and it's just like the dude never tuned. And it's like he plays, he does some interesting things. John Suhr made the observation that he doesn't really ever bend with his fingers. He doesn't do the vibrato, and his whole style is based around the bar. And he doesn't really bend strings a hell of a lot. It's kind of weird. It's like, wow, but he is bending strings. He's just doing it all with the bar. And I think it's like this matter of, it sounds so vocal, like when he plays, and he's just developed that whole style. And it's like, it's never, I think he's constantly compensating for the tuning. And I don't think maybe he is in tune that much. Like, you know, the guitar, if you played a chord, might sound out of tune, but he's constantly playing single notes and then bending around just using his ear, kind of as you would your voice. I don't know. It's a really unique style. So I don't think he worries about the tuning that much. I think he gets it kind of close to in tune, and then he probably has a good roller nut or something, slippery locking tuners and all that stuff on the guitar. But then the rest of the night he just rolls with it and kind of just bends, you know, when he feels like he's out of tune. And it's part of his sound. It's like pretty magic how he does that. He's not like anybody else out there, that's for sure. I mean, Scott Henderson's the closest thing I can think of. When he plays, it sort of has a similar, you know, when he's soloing and stuff, and the way he uses the bar. Okay, I'm moving down in the chat. Let's see what else we got here. Okay. Who else we got here? Ben Coombe says he's going to be doing a live stream tonight, and his mom is his guest. That's awesome. That's great, Ben. I love that you're doing that. The radar does have power amp simulation. You can defeat it per patch if you want to. That's from Paul. Okay, so somebody at the beginning of the live stream was asking a question about the radar, using a effects send out to go into the radar and then coming out into their DAW. Would they need a load box? And the answer is yes. You always need a load box or a cabinet. Many times what can happen is if you take the effects send out of an amp and then you plug into something, and then what happens is you're going to kill the sound of the amp. Like, I don't know, I'd have to try it with that particular. Like a lot of amps, you take the effects send out, run into something, go into a DAW or something, you won't get sound out of it, I don't think. And then you try and and then I don't know, just nothing will work, But if it does work, it's a great question for Mesa to ask them, but you're gonna have to have a load connected to be safe. I'm not gonna recommend that you don't have a load connected, no matter what. You should always have a load on the amplifier. And it probably won't sound like what you want anyway. I mean, you're gonna want to take the line out of the amplifier into a load box that captures the entire sound of the amplifier, including the power section, then loads it down to line level. Take that line out to go into I maintain. I do. Saul says, and Saul's in the top chat, by the way, and he's in Canada. Happy Mother's Day. He's from Canada. Since last Christmas, oh wow, he's bought one of my signature Sir guitars, a PT100 in cab, and he has a deposit for a PT15. How do I explain all this to the wife? Don't show her my face. She's gonna come after me. Thank you, dude, for being such a supporter of all the gear. I appreciate that, and I hope that it's good. The main thing is that you like it, and that it serves you well, and helps you do brings you enjoyment. And then if you semi-pro or pro, also helps you earn some bucks and stuff like that, and helps you enjoy your job that much more. I really hope so, because that's the main thing. I have a kind of a weird position. I've mentioned this before, maybe on the live stream, I'm not sure, I think it was, but my role is different than a lot of people. A lot of people have a signature guitar, and it's a reflection of their job, which is, if you're John Petrucci, it's to be the guitar player in Dream Theater, and he gets to be, the best John Petrucci he can be, right? And so the guitar can be a crazy shape and whatever. He can do whatever he wants. The neck, I mean, his guitar is extremely specific. If you've ever played one, it's a thing. And it might be hard to move from that guitar to another guitar, I think, in some ways. Not detracting from him at all, because he's a rock star in his own right, and star guitar player, and he's trying to be different and do his thing to the max. And if you want a John Petrucci guitar, it's because you're a huge fan of his, and you want to probably play, like him and do things, you know what I mean? And similar to Steve Vai, I think, like where he's got, the monkey grip in his guitars and the pickup selection, and they're very versatile guitars, but they're very Steve Vai, with the last 4 frets scalloped and the finishes and stuff. I'm like a different kind of, if you're getting a PT15 or one of my signature guitars, it's a little bit more, I don't want to say jack of all trades, because that, but it is, because my job is to kind of be able to conform to different musical, like I've got my own thing. I put out my own records, yes, and write my own songs and all that, yes. But my thing is to, many times it's like last week where I got to go do the Queen thing, or where I've, playing with, all of a sudden, you guys know, like the folks that I've played with, where I'm performing material by Melissa Etheridge or Don Henley or something. And so my job is making instruments, I feel like, and amplifiers that are really geared towards working musicians such as myself, that are sometimes, yeah, sort of jack of all trades, like with a wide, appeal. Hopefully, like with the signature guitar, it fills a lot of niches and can do different styles, and is a versatile instrument that you could bring one guitar to the gig and you don't need to switch between a whole bunch of different instruments and stuff. So I think I'm a different kind of, it's a different kind of thing with me, where I'm trying to make gear that, for the, I guess it fills some, slots or niches or whatever, when it's like the types of players that do cover bands or play, a ton of different material and the guitar might appeal to those people, or the PT15 hopefully will appeal to those people, because it helps them do their job, so it's kind of working man stuff, I guess is what I'm getting at. So thank you so much for being a supporter, man. I really appreciate that, and I hope you like the PT15 just as much. Okay. Who else we got here in the house with some questions? Is there any talk of doing the PT15 without all the IR and load box stuff, says Jason. I thought about it, and I pushed for that at some point, and the sense from the dealers, I guess, And this is kind of like surprising to me, but it's what I hear, and I do understand it. What the SUR guys hear from the dealers is they don't want too many options, because then they feel like they have to stock all this different stuff. And so too many, like an amplifier with a ton of options or that kind of thing, they don't really feel like that's something that they're interested in doing. They're like, let's just do the one. And I get that in a way, you know. So it's like there is a part of me that would like to experiment with doing just like a stripped down 2-channel one, you know, without the third channel and without any IRs or load box or anything, and it's just clean, dirty. And you know, we try and bring it in at even like the lowest price point possible for the type of person that wants something like that. I would be, you know, open to something like that, like an SE like a simple, almost like PRS SE guitars or something, like, you know, a lower priced alternative or something. But the exact same amp, I could see how having the exact same 3-channel version, but no IRs and no load and stuff. Maybe that's just too close, and it's like it just ends up being a nightmare or headache for dealers. You know, one comes in and the guy wants the other one, so the other one sits on the floor or whatever, that kind of thing. So, so for now, I think it's just going to be the one version. But maybe, you know, maybe down the road, maybe 2-channel or something like that. That's just really stripped down, really straightforward. That would be something that might be cool, you know. Okay, what else we got here? Looking for questions. All you folks are talking amongst yourselves, which is a good thing. Dances reluctantly says, Pete, you rock. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. I do. Everyone loves the PT100. Reb Beach and RJ both use it. RJ Ronquillo. I say his name right. Ronquillo. Is that right? I think so. He's a nice guy. I've met him a few times at NAMM. He's a cool dude. I'm glad they dig it. I've had great feedback on the plugin recently too, like from folks like Jared, the guitar player on Saturday Night Live. He tweeted about it, like, how great does this thing sound, you know? And I agree, like Brainworks knocked it out of the park on the plugin. They killed it. He did really good work. Red Beach, yeah, he likes the PT a lot. I know that. I think he might prefer the older version. He likes tons of gain and a really full sound. Like he runs the gain on 10, you know, like a lot of gain. But anyway, the PT100's a, you know, it's a great thing. I agree. I do. Thornley too. Yeah, it's Thornley's main amp. That's right. It says Chris Cam. Yeah. He uses the PT and the Hedgehog. There was a guy at SUR for a while that was trying to kind of, I feel like he was trying to sort of downplay the Thornley. I think because he was a big fan of the Hedgehog, so he was always like sort of, I don't know why he was doing this, but he was kind of like, I don't know. There was some, like, people were like, oh, Thornley uses the PT, but the Hedgehog is his main sound. That's not actually true. The PT100 is his main sound, and then he blends the Hedgehog in on a volume pedal, but the PT is always on. And that's the gospel truth from Ian's mouth to mine. I'm telling you, I heard it right from the source. He really loves the amp. So let's see. In stereo with the Hedgehog, but the PT100 is the main amp. Yeah, that's right, Chris Cam. I'm not sure he uses it in stereo, but he mixes in the. I don't think it's like one's on one side and one's on the other. I think it's that he's got the PT100 is his main sound, then he blends in the Hedgehog with the volume pedal. They're probably both coming right up the middle, I would think. John Shanks uses the PT100 too. Does he? I don't know that he does, but he might. I went and visited him. I've got his AC30 here. He's the guy that lent me the Brian May guitar, actually. But John's a great guy. He's been a good friend. I think a 2-channel no IR would sell like crazy. So will PT15 IR. I agree, but I would love people just to, I think the 15, it wouldn't be that much less expensive unless they started doing something like building it partially overseas or something. You know, you're not gonna. I don't know. It's just. I guess it probably might come in around $2,000 or maybe a little more if there was just a 2-channel version. You know, which is I guess substantially less expensive, but it's still not an inexpensive amp by any means. I just want to stick with the one that's out now. What do I think about the hybrid MIDI heads and combo amps, tube and solid state? I don't know yet. Like the power section of an amp, like a tube power amp, I still don't feel like that's something that, you know, is like easily replaceable or, you know, in a solid state kind of thing. I've just never heard it done or felt it. I mean, have you guys? I don't know. Like at some point things just get so small and so that, you know, PT15 is not, it's not heavy, it's little, you know. Here, let's just look at it. It's like, it's about, I don't know how heavy it is, but it ain't that heavy, you know. It's you know, same weight as a Badger basically. You seen the back? The back looks like on these. An interesting thing about the amp that some people might not know is that if you use this jack on the 15, the load is still in line. So what'll happen then is it halves the power of the amp, sort of, you could think of it. It's like having 2 speaker cabinets connected. So now half the power is going to go to one thing and half is going to go to the other thing. So you plug in a speaker into this jack, the amp's technically going to be at about like sort of like the volume. It's going to drop the decibels by like 3 dB. So kind of like having like a 7-watt head. So that's interesting. It's kind of like almost like having a half power switch. You'd have to cut the impedance selector in half. So if you got an 8-ohm cab, you're going to want to set the impedance at 4 if you're going to do that. But that's the only thing that you'll have to do. And it's just kind of a nice sort of like, I don't know, like sort of hidden feature or something. But anyway, that's the back. Effects loop, line out, speaker out. There's a switch right there to just disable the IRs if you want to, so that you can simply, you know, do IRs in a different way if you want, or have no speaker simulation if you want to slave to you could slave out to like a, you know, MOSFET power amp or something like that, and then go into a, you know, you could be as loud as you want with this amp or as quiet as you want, doing it that way. But that's it, you know, it's not really that, I don't know. It's small enough for me. It's like, you know, it's not that heavy. Let's put it back. All right. Have I tried the Brian Mayred special? Haven't seen a video of you playing it. That was Isaac. Dude, there's videos all over my IG of me playing that thing. I'm actually going to do a video. I want to make a video about the treble booster being like maybe the most underrated effect pedal of all time because they're so cool. So I'll use the Brian May guitar for some of that and the AC30, but I want to talk not just about Brian May tones. I want to use the treble booster, for instance, in front of my old Marshall or my SL68 and show how great it sounds in front of like a normal channel on a Marshall, which is like generally a pretty flat, sort of shady guitar sound. Like if you just plug into the normal channel, it needs help. But running a treble booster into it transforms it. So I came to realize like a treble booster was really like a Band-Aid solution to a problem, which was a kind of anemic sounding guitar amps that don't have any kind of exciting top end. And they made treble boosters to help, you know, to do something. It was basically like a way to fix a not great guitar sound, which is, you know, normal channel on mini amps, British amps at the time. They were just really dark. But what an amazing Band-Aid, because the combination of the treble booster in front just killed, you know, it made some rock history, you know. And so I always use the Judas Priest, you know, that was like their early tone and stuff that they used on a lot of records was a normal channel of a Marshall with a Rangemaster in front. And it's an unbelievable sound. Just an incredible, you know, killer guitar tone. So let's see what else we got here. Have you tried the Harley Benton Sir copy of your guitar? You asked me that last week, didn't you? Or somebody else did. The Harley Benton guitar is copy only in the visual. You know, they don't use the same woods, like the neck is not mahogany, and I don't think the back of the guitar is mahogany. Might have a maple top on it, but it's more just a copy. You know, none of the same parts are on it. It's not the same bridge or same pickups or anything. It's not like they've, you know, gone to great lengths to exactly replicate the. It's only, you know, sort of looks pretty close. So it's really like a finish, you know, and you can't copyright a finish, can you? You know, and at the end of the day, it's just an aesthetic. So I did see it at the show last year, and I ribbed the Thomann guys pretty good about it. Incidentally, I'm going to the Thomann Gear University thing. I should bring that up. Thomann, for those that don't know, is this, you know, big musical instrument retailer and distributor in Germany. And they've got an incredible facility that's they're not unlike Sweetwater, but in Europe. And they did a thing called Gearhead University last year that was similar to GitCon. And, you know, a bunch of YouTubers go in there. They've got this amazing facility that's got so much gear in it that it's just out of control. So they're bringing over, they brought over a whole bunch of people. I didn't go last year, but this year I'm going to go. So it's in about a month. So I'm excited because there's going to be some folks there like Paul Davids, who I'm a fan of. And you know, Samurai guitarists, and who I met last year at GitCon, and who else is going to be there? Spectre Sound Studios, who I adore that guy. He's great. And just all kinds of folks. Produced like a pro, Warren Hewart, who is a friend of mine here from LA, is going to go as well. So hopefully we can make some cool videos and do some good stuff together. I've been a little lax on the YouTube lately. Partially it was because of the Queen gig, and I was working so hard just practicing and playing guitar that I fell behind on making videos a little bit and stuff. And it's just like there's only so many hours in the day. But anyways, I'll get back on it, and then, you know, with that happening next month, I should have some cool new stuff coming out. Like you know, hopefully be kicking out a whole bunch of stuff for YouTube pretty quick. What do I think about orange solid state amps, like the 120 Pro 212? That's from Metalhead Hippie. Well, somebody else asked me that question, I think like a week ago. I was saying that I saw King's X with Ty Tabor using one of the orange solid state heads recently, and he sounded awesome. He always sounds awesome whatever he plays through. He sounds like Ty, but he's always been a fan of kind of outside of the box, you know, using solid state, like in the early days of the lab amps and stuff. And he sounded great playing through that orange solid state amp. So I've kind of wanted to try one ever since then. That's different. Like, you know, is that something I want? One of those orange solid state amps, just to have something different around. So Ty sounded great playing through it, but I haven't personally played through one. Okay. What are my favorite Stratocaster saddles? Fender stamped, Godo. You know, as long as it's a like, I don't really have, like, I kind of like the solid saddles that they use on Godo bridges. I like the bent metal saddles for a slightly different tone, which to me is kind of more airy and traditional, or something like that you see on a Godo or on a Strat bridge. I don't have a favorite though per se, but I do think of them as different. I think of the bent metal saddles as having like a little bit more of that stratty kind of clucky in between position 2 and 4 chimey stuff going on, and the steel saddles I think of a bit more of a solid sustainy sound. I don't know how else to describe it, but I've got both types on different SIRs that I have here, and yeah, I don't know. It just kind of depends what you want, you know. Let's see. Leo says, I would rather have one badass SIR that makes loads of tones than 2 or 3 crap guitars from Indonesia. I would agree. Like, one great guitar is better than having a bunch of cheaper guitars. I'm sometimes a fan of cheaper guitars that are made overseas. I mean, I've got some cool guitars here, like the Supro that I have, as well as the Dan Electros and stuff that I love and use for different things. But if I've got to have one guitar, it is the SIR, you know, signature guitar. I could probably play just the rest of my life on that and be pretty happy. Let's see. Brooks is talking about Jeff Beck and his tremolo settings, and he says he thinks he has that Jeff has it set to pull up a minor third on the G string. I said major, but yeah, that could be a whole step on the B and a half step on the E. That sounds about right. If you the interesting thing is, I've got, by the way, my old Strat kind of set in a similar way. If you set it up to pull up, and I believe you're right, a minor third on the G, and then what you'll find is it'll then pull up approximately a half step on the B, and then a minor second on the E. That sounds about right, I think. And you got to have the bridge set pretty angled up, in order to get it to do that. But you just kind of tune it in, and I believe that is the way, by the way, that a Strat was meant to be, like when they, like the original manuals or whatever in like 1954 or whatever, when they show the setup of the guitar and pictures of it, they show the bridge like set like that in the pictures. That's the way Leo had intended it to be. To be set up, not flush with the body or just floating a little. It was supposed to be like that. So I don't know. Kind of interesting. Moving down. Let's see here. Oh, somebody's up in the top chat. Who's that? It's Chris Cam. Thanks, Chris. Wanted to thank you again for your time, knowledge, and candor. Thanks, Chris. Hey, I appreciate that. Happy Mother's Day to everyone, says Chris. And happy Mother's Day to one cool mother. Thanks, dude. Appreciate it. Thanks so much for doing the top chat thing. And I appreciate it. Always. I've often thought that those triple channel rectifiers and the old 3-channel Vi signature Carvin heads were a little overwhelming, though people do really like them. Yeah, when you can get into 3-channel amps, it can get a little overwhelming. It's part of why I wanted to kind of keep the 15 simple. Like, once again, I'll grab it here. And, we were trying to save real estate on the thing, and we knew it was going to have the IRs. So we can just angle this down so I don't have to hold this up so much. So it was like, how do you do that? And part of it, we spent a long time drawing the front panel on this amp and trying to figure out how to make it make sense. And so, put these lines in between channel 1 and channel 2 and 3, which are here. So this is channel 1. You got gain and master and treble and bass. And then you got a bright switch. Channel 2 and 3, you got gain and master, and the 3-band EQ, treble, middle, bass, with a bright switch for each channel, which is something you can't even do on a PT100, incidentally. We put bright switches on all 3 channels. So between if you're running this thing direct and you've got different IRs for each channel, you guys know you can do that, right? You could use like one IR on this channel, another one on this one, and another one on this one. So you could have, say, like a open back 410 here, and a closed back 212 here, and a closed back 412 here, all with different speakers, whatever you want. But the addition of the bright switches on each channel really lets you tune in each channel for some different sounds. And although 2 and 3 are, it's essentially like this is the same channel, but you've just got 2 sets of gains and masters, you can radically sort of revoice by either using a different IR or by using the bright switch on each channel. So say you could use V30s on channel 3 and greenbacks on channel 2 and run the bright switch on one and off on the other, and then you've got completely different tones going. And then over here you got the presence in the master, right? And then this is all IR stuff. This is headphone stuff over here, aux in. But I think for an amp that's got a fair amount of flexibility and being 3 channels, it's still super simple. All your tone controls are on the bottom. All your gains and masters are on the top, and there's these lines to sort of delineate channel 1 and channel 2 and 3. This is power section stuff over here. It's like pretty easy to get around on this thing, and yet there's a lot of options there for voicing your tone. So I think that's pretty cool. And I love the brushed faceplate too. Like, it just, look at that. It's classy. Like, John's really particular about not doing just printed on plexi panels or anything like that. With, he wants it to, they spend a lot of, he's very adamant about the thing looking, I don't know, like as good as it's made, like on the outside and on the inside. So I'm just really proud of it. I think it's great. Somebody else is up in the top chat up there. Who's that? Oh, no, that was Chris. Thanks, Chris. Once again. Yeah, like the triple channel rectifier, it was a little, I agree. It was a little, I had one, by the way. I used it quite a bit. I used it on the 40-foot Echo album. That was my main amp. It was a good amp. I like the triple rectifier for that sound, that grindy, big kind of, big grained distortion, I call it. that sound, but it was just kind of a little generic. Everybody had that sound back then. That became the amp. And, you know, grindy preamp gain, it was a thing. Maybe too much of a thing. Okay, what else have we got here? Looking here. One of my favorite. Oh, that was a Stratocaster saddle question. I answered that one already. Okay, Christopher Post says that he just got into a looper pedal. Any tips for getting the most out of it? I really feel like I'm getting better at making music with it. That's cool. You know, just have fun, play with it. One thing about it is I find it helps to set the volume of the loop a little bit lower than you know, when you start the loop, like it'll shift the volume down a little bit. That's helpful if you're trying to solo over it or layer other parts, I find, because it can be a little bit confusing if the loop level's at the same level as your current. That's one thing that I've just found. I usually set it at 3 dB lower or something like that, like in my Line 6 Helix. I'll set them at like -3, the loop playback. Other than that, I don't know, just have fun with it. I mean, the great thing about loopers is people use them in all kinds of different, unique ways. I love hearing, you know, that how people get creative with them, the stuff people do. I'm no expert at it, that's for sure. You know, I don't use one live to do things really. A little bit I have, a little bit. I've done a few things with them a few times that and it's been a lot of fun. But yeah, just have fun with it and kind of use it in your own way, I would say. Michael's up in the top chat. He says, love your channel, demos, and compositions. Thank you. Looks like my local shop has your guitar in stock. If it doesn't have the new trim, do you know, can they be upgraded? Yeah, I believe so. It's no problem. Contact the dealer and just ask them about that, about how they could order one for you. But you could get one through your dealer and then have, it's a drop-in replacement for the Godot bridge. Just really, really easy. And they're not too expensive if you want to make the shift in the upgrade. You might like the Godot just fine. You know, give it a try if you decide to get that guitar and see if you maybe you're cool with the Godot, you know. But I do love the new bridge. I do. Okay. Let's see. Without disclosing what they are, how many other products do you have in development, sir, or otherwise? I've been working on something else for a long time with a company, but it's kind of slow going. So we'll see how that goes. It's just still in development and stuff. But there's just one other thing that I've been working on, as well as a couple other things with Sir that are more like, you know, variations on things that you've already seen. Okay. People would certainly struggle with my JVM 410 if they find a lot of knobs overwhelming and intimidating. Yeah, those JVM amps, they do look like a sea of knobs on the front, right? Like 2 full levels of stuff and switches, and I find them a little bit confusing, you know? Anyway, I gotta moderate a little bit here. There's some weird person named Sarah in the chat that was saying like, oh my God, I hate you so much. And then putting the poop emoji up. Okay, bye, Sarah. Happy Mother's Day. Dwayne says, do I know anything about Orange Voice of the World speakers? Who really makes them? I don't. I'm not sure about that. That's a great question. I'm not sure. It's probably Eminence or something, or WGS, you know, something like that. I would expect, but I'm not actually sure about that. Weird sound. What's happening over there? Somebody's in the top chat. It is George, and George says, "Hey Pete, are your personal Helix patches available to download?" Not right now, although I would be happy to create some and do that. I know that they've got a system set up for that. Something going with that. I should make some actually and make them available. You've reminded me. It's one more thing to do, but I'd be happy to do it. Let's see here. Let's see. The world needs a Big Wreck and Pete Thorn world tour, says Chris. I'd love to work with Ian in some capacity at some point. I would. I've said that before, definitely. I'm a huge fan. What boost would I have used for the Queen gig if you didn't have the Cornish? That's a great question. A good treble booster. other than the Cornish. The Cornish sounds great, but it's crazy expensive. I know that. There's a lot of good ones out there. The 65, if you could find it used, because I don't think they make it anymore, it was great. It was a white pedal with a 5-position switch on it that lets you kind of tune the fatness of the boost. There's like a boost knob and then like a 5-position rotary switch that lets you kind of make the boost a little fatter if you want to, like, tune the frequency basically. I really like that, and it's the pedal incidentally that I used on the song Into Focus from Pete Thorn 2. And if you watch the original demo that I did for that pedal, I'm using it in the original demo as well. So the 65 treble booster. What else? Who else makes one? You know, I have one right here that's something you might want to look at actually. What the heck did I do with it? It's a Crazy Tubes. Here it is. It's the Crazy Tube Circuits Constellation. So this pedal I want to do a demo of this week, and I believe this. So it's a fuzz that has a bunch of different settings in it, like different style fuzzes, and one of the settings is actually Range Master, I believe, RM. So soon, but it seems like a pretty versatile pedal if you want, like, you know, because it's pretty rare. You're gonna actually. Okay, another one that's great is the BAE fuzz called the Hot Fuzz, I believe, is the one that I'm always recommending it, but it looks like a Neve piece of gear. It's an incredible pedal, and it actually has a fuzz and treble booster built in the same pedal. Sounds amazing. Like using them both. I was just going to say, you probably aren't going to use fuzz and treble boost at the same time, but I just contradicted myself, because in that one pedal, I was like, oh my God, these effects work great together. And you can use them independent or together if you want in that pedal. But on this one, you've got a bunch of fuzz and then one Range Master setting. So this could be a good choice if you want to kill 2 birds with 1 stone on your pedal board and have some fuzz options as well as a Range Master. I'll report back on this more later. There's a couple options for you. Cole is up in the top chat and he says PT50 update. You know, I got to ask John actually, because we've been thinking so much about the 15. And just getting it done and out on time, which is great. Like I want it, you know, like June was the promise, and I want to stick to that and stuff, and make sure that we do that. That I haven't actually thought that much about the 50, other than, you know, so it's not like currently it's not like, oh, it's going to come in 2 months or anything. We can't say that. So just concentrating on getting the 15 out right now. But I do want to ask John, like, hey, so what about the 50? Like, can we talk about that a little bit? I should go there next week to do some stuff. I might drive out to Sir one day next week, so I'll make sure to bring that up then, and then I'll have a better answer for you soon. Yeah, okay. Moving down a little bit here in the chat. I think I'm pretty much at the bottom of the chat right now, actually. So if anybody's got anything else they're wondering, have you ever tried a Boss MD500? And how do you like it compared to your Strymon Mobius? You know, I haven't. That's their modulation sort of multi-modeler pedal, right? Dave Friedman likes it. I know that. I don't have any personal experience with it because, to be honest, I love my Mobius so much. It's actually my favorite Strymon pedal. The Mobius, I think, is a knock it out of the park modulation pedal. You know, I'm able to get so close to the analog pedals with that thing. Like, for example, like I always use the EVH flange. That's a really, really like the gray flanger setting on it. I was able to just get so close that it almost sounded identical. Not exact, but it was like, wow, it's really damn close. And not to mention all the great, you know, the detune stuff, the Univibe, even the filter settings have been really useful to me in live settings where I needed to do wah stuff, but I couldn't be by my pedal board. So I would use the auto wah in it. That worked. It's sounded really great for that stuff. And then the lo-fi stuff I love, like the warped, you know, weird filtered settings where you can make your guitar sound like a broken record. That's really useful for some stuff. So anyways, what else we got? Oh, somebody was in the top chat. Did I answer their? Oh, yeah, I already got to that one. Negra Viper and Analog Man Beano Boost for treble boosters. Yeah, I hear that Viper pedal is a good treble boost. You just reminded me. That's the Caitlin Bread pedal, the Naga Viper, and Analog Man Beano Boost. Probably hard to go wrong with either of those. Those are both great pedal companies. I haven't had a chance to try either, but the ones that I have here are the BAE, the 65. Any other treble boosters I have here? Oh, I have an old Divided by 13 that he called the Dyna Ranger. That's his Rangemaster clone. I've had that for 12 or 13 years or something, that pedal. Cool. It's similarly cool, very similar to the 65 pedal in that it had a 5-position rotary switch to, if you want to fatten up the treble boost character. And so those are the ones that I got, those 3. But the ones you just mentioned, Caitlin Bread, Naga Viper, and Analog Man, Beano Boost are well regarded. I know that. Somebody else is up in the top chat. It's Bill, and he says, when using a non-master volume Comet with power station and loop effects, the end of the loop, I have a Lechley splitter with A to the loop return and B to a 2-notes cab. That's an interesting setup. Is there a better way to do this for live or recording? Let me think about that. Non-master volume Comet, using the power station, and you've got a mono loop in there, of course. And in the end of the loop, I have a Lechley splitter with A to loop return and B to the 2-notes cab. Shit. I'm trying to think. Are you coming out of then into a guitar cabinet? Because then obviously you're not going to have Lechley splitter with A to loop return and B to a 2-notes cab. I don't see a problem with it, although you're probably going to have a ground loop, right, of some sort. So you might have to use the isolation transformer, but that splitter's probably got one in it, so you're probably covered. That's an interesting thing you're doing. I've never even thought of doing that. Seems like it would probably work, right? I don't see why not. I think that sounds like a pretty good way to do it, actually. I can't come up with why you would want to do it any different. One side's obviously going back into the power station, then you're going to come out of the power station to a cabinet, and then another side is going to go to a virtual cabinet and go, yeah, I don't know. If it works, if it works, it works. Sounds good to me, Bill. Yeah, the only thing you might run into trouble with, you got to make sure it's definitely properly buffered. I don't know how well the loop is buffered in the power station, so you might want to use a buffer of some sort and see if it sounds any better to you, maybe on the send of the send of and maybe you already have that with whatever pedal you're using in the loop. Maybe it's buffered. But yeah, so the send coming out of the effects send of the power station maybe should be buffered. I'm not saying the effects send in a power station isn't buffered, right? I'm not sure is all I'm saying. And some of them aren't. A simple loop many times, if you're using it to split, I don't know, try a buffer before whatever. In the loop, I got a Lechley splitter with a loop return, 2-notes cab. Maybe you're not running any effects in the loop at all, and you're just using the loop purely to split. But yeah, no, I don't see a problem with it. Try a buffer and see if it helps. Maybe the Lechley isn't that thing. It's powered, right? It's active, and maybe it's got a buffer in it. So maybe you're cool then. I don't think there's any problem with that rig. Seems okay, just as long as you don't get a ground loop. Okay, what else we got here? Let's see. Good boosters, the Keeley Java Boost. 3-position voicing switch and tone knob that works like a Vox. High cut, that sounds cool. I haven't tried that one. I've tried other, like the Katana, Keeley Katana. That's a great kind of clean boost with some extra sort of sauce in it that you can switch in. Great for shaving off any harsh top end. That sounds like a cool pedal. So that's a good recommendation, one that I haven't tried. The Keeley. Robert Keeley always makes great stuff. I like his pedals a lot. Okay. Smash the troll, says Matt Harrison. Yeah, I did. Got rid of the troll. Okay. What else we got here? Anything else? Anything else I'm missing? What do I know about the Gibson SG Firebrand? Not very much. Okay. Yeah, we got all kinds of weirdos in the chat, right? There's a few at the end here. They come out at the end. They don't get up till noon, so then they show up after noon. But okay, here, let me just do one more little bit of moderation. There we go. Done. Bye. Okay. Next. What are my thoughts on the upcoming Fractal FM3? I was considering an HX Stomp, but now I'm waiting to see the FM3 brings for $400. For $400 more, that's substantially more, and it does look like it's more like an AX8 replacement. You know, the Stomp and it are in two different categories, I think. So if you're looking to go all the way there, you're willing to pay an extra $400, a lot of money when you're talking about a modeler. And it's going to have, a lot more, just capability as far as, it's a bigger and it's more, more akin to an AX8, I think, So you might want to think of it a little bit more like looking at maybe the Helix LE or whatever it's called, the light version, in comparison with the FM3. That might be a more fair comparison. The HX Stomp to me exists in a category all its own, almost still. Because of the price point as well as all the capabilities and stuff in a pedal that's basically the size of a Strymon timeline is pretty incredible. So, which isn't taking anything away from the new FM3. I think that it's going to they've had a lot of success with everything they brought out. I'm sure it'll do really well. Have I ever tried any diamond pedals? I've actually done quite a few demos of diamond pedals. They're, as I remember, they're vibrato and the different delays. Probably I've done like at least 3 of the different delays, I think. Great pedals. No reservations of recommending them. They do some of the best kind of Memory Man style delay pedals out there. Good stuff, and they're nice people too. I like them. Okay, what else we got here? Can't get enough of George Lynch's tone on the KXM album, says Ted. George, I know George a little bit. I see him a lot, actually, because he comes and rehearses pretty like around where my studio is here and stuff. And he's really tight with Dave Friedman. Dave does all his amp work, and when I'm in Dave's shop, he's come in a few times, and he's a really, really nice guy. I like George Lynch a lot, and he's such a what struck me the last time I saw him is he came in and he was so stoked about the sound of a park that Dave Friedman had just kind of dialed in for him, and he was like going, "Woo, it sounds so good, man! I'm so stoked!" And he's like still like really excited about guitar tone. And he's back to using very simple, like seems like his home base is non-master volume amps with just a few pedals on the floor, and he's a happy guy, and he still gets so excited when an amp is just the right thing for him. I love that. I don't know, he seems like a really great. I don't know him well, but I know him like we're on a first name basis at this point and stuff, and he's just really friendly and really excited about guitar is all I'm getting at. I love that. And I don't know, he just strikes me as a really cool guy. Braxall's asking if we can see his chat, and yes. And Jacques says Pete on weirdo duty. Yeah, totally on weirdo duty. You gotta trim the weirdos as we get older. It's like no more time for weirdos. Just get them out, right? Mike says, been intrigued by Drybell Unit 67 since my demo, would love to try. Now, that's a unit that has a Rangemaster style boost in it. It's a little different. It's not quite as, I don't think, aggressive as some of the other treble boosters, but it is one of the magic things about that pedal that makes it's got a bit of compression mixed with a Rangemaster style boost. And it's part of why I put it on my board down there. So I'll probably include that maybe. Yeah, why not? In the like, I want to make a video about treble boosters, which I might work on today, actually. Like treble booster as being the unsung hero, the underrated guitar pedal. And I'll just plug a bunch of them in and play some different stuff with different treble boosters. I might as well include the Drybell Unit 67 in that. Why not? Mike Walt says that he just made a video with the Stomp. Yeah, I actually don't have one. I got to get one. I really want to get one. Any chance you'll be attending Sweetwater's Gear Fest in June? That's from Caffeine Thug. And the answer is yes, I am going to be there. So if you're going, I'll be there. I'm going to do something that I don't know if I should announce exactly what I'm doing there yet or not. But so I won't. But I will be there, and I will be doing something. So I hope to meet you. I saw a guy tap dancing on the FM3. It looked complicated, says Jerry. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it is or not. Really, like, I've only seen photos, and I never watched any of the stuff from wasn't there like a Boston amp show or something? I think there was one there, and there's some videos from them showing it there and stuff. But I haven't watched any of that stuff yet. I should, I guess, stay on top of my game. Have you ever tried Jackson audio pedals? And if so, did you like them? That's from Braxall. I have not. Oh, maybe one. Maybe won a demo like a long time ago. I think I did make a demo of a Jackson audio pedal. I can't remember which one it was. You know, the easiest way for me to let me just go to YouTube and see if I can find. I'm on YouTube right now, but I'm gonna go to YouTube and look up. My internet's slow, probably because I'm streaming. Jackson audio Pete Thorn. Because I think I did do one. Not seeing anything come up. I thought I did one years ago. But yeah, not seeing one. I thought I did one like back when I was in my old place, my first place I had in Santa Monica. Maybe not. Let's see. George owes me $600, says somebody. Sorry, George. And sorry to I'm staying out of that one. Not going to touch it. Let's see. Any more questions? Got a Diamond MRQ1 marquee germanium treble booster. If you could find one used, they're a great treble boost pedal. That's from, Chris recommending the Diamond. The reality is a treble booster is a pretty damn simple thing. I think it's just a germanium chip, and there's almost nothing in them, I don't think. So the reality is, if you find one out there, and they're all based on it, similar to the Rangemaster, I think. So they all have sounded good and pretty similar to me. All the ones I've tried, divided by 13, 65. The BAE is kind of its own animal a little bit in it doesn't sound quite as aggressively notched as some of them to me. It's just kind of this fat, maybe it's just, I don't know, maybe it's similar to using one of the other ones that's got the selector knob kind of in the middle or something, because you can't adjust the range on the BAE, but it just sounds great. Wyatt Willis wants to know if I have any experience with KT88s. Anytime I've used them in modeling or plugins, they sound amazing. I agree. In modeling stuff, they always do sound great. Kind of like this big, brawny, robust, like different than the EL34s, less MIDI and kind of just killer. I don't have a lot of experience with them. No, I know that they were the Billy Corgan. I guess I played SVTs with them, but they were the Billy Corgan thing, and he liked them. He running into the normal input on a JCM 800 with pedals, and the KT88s. That was his thing with a big muff in front, and that's like the Siamese Dream guitar sound and stuff. Gish, right? Used it for a long time. How rare is the Sir Pro Series Purple Haze guitar? Geez, I don't know. It's a good question. It's a question from Sunny. Okay, I'm going to answer all the ones kind of there at the bottom of the chat now, and then I'm going to jet. I'm going to go get making videos. Let's see. More Guitarist says I own quite a few boutique amps, Bogner's, Friedman, and Surs, and I'll be damned that I picked up the latest version, DSL 100 HR, and it sounds pretty damn good. The DSL was one of my first amps that was kind of like one of my first gigging amps back in the 90s, and it was a good amp. It's a good solid workhorse. A very dead horse is up in the top chat, and he says, building a rig for my bass 6. That's one of those Fender 6-string basses. I want to use it as a regular bass, but also as a heavy 8-string, like Abasi tones. Wet dry would be cool. Cabin amp ideas. Cabin amp ideas. The PT15. The first thing that came to mind to me when you said that, I don't know why, but it was the Archon. when I'm thinking about like a modern gain kind of thing, I don't know why I thought that, or Archon, the PRS thing, or maybe like the Tremonti version, just kind of that drier, kind of heavy thing. But other than that, like a bossy tones, wet dry would be cool. I don't know. Try the PT15. Come on now. Cabin amp ideas for cabinets. I would probably recommend using for speakers like a V30 might be cool, but mixed with maybe like the Creamback H75 because it's got a full sound, or maybe even one of those K100 Celestians, something like that, like a 100 watt, maybe for modern, might be a cool thing for your rig, like rather than any kind of greenbacky stuff. And in something closed for sure, closed back 212 of some sort, something along those lines. I would probably veer towards something like that, like a high power, like 100 watt speaker that's got a big magnet and sort of real robust and full. I don't know. I would veer away from my standard greenbacky vintagey thing for doing something that along the lines of what you're talking about. Would I trust one live? Back to the more guitars question, because I just wanted to do the top chat one there for a sec. Thanks for doing the top chat, by the way. You might want to have a tech go through it and just, like, if you're asking me about trusting one live, if just look through it, look for any cold solder joints or any, because those are made overseas now, which doesn't, maybe it's made great, but just have somebody go over it and look at it, give it the once over and make sure that there's, everything looks solid in it if it's going to get bumped around at all. It's always good to get a matched set of tubes for playing live in case you, you can do a thing where you buy, like, if it's 100 watt, which it is, buy an octet. Is that right? Buy 8 tubes at a time, which is a little bit of an expense, but you could go buy, like, the EHs seem real reliable. Go get 8 matched EHs and then have the amp biased up with 4 in there. And then you've got a matched other set of 4, right? Because they're matched to the other ones. Make sure you keep spare fuses, keep the spare 4 tubes around, and then if you blow a set of tubes or whatever on a gig, you can just pop the other ones in, replace the fuse, and you should be good to go. What else? Other than that, I wouldn't have any reservations about gigging it. If it sounds good to you, it is good. There's a fella from, I can't read your name because it's in Russian, but you say, hi from Russia. It's my first time on your broadcast and you're cool. Thanks. Appreciate that. I visited Russia in 2013 and played over there, and I had a wonderful time playing music there. First we went to Belarus, and then we went to Moscow, and then we went to St. Petersburg. I had a great time. I particularly had fun in St. Petersburg, actually. Very nice city, beautiful city. And of course, the museum there is unbelievable. Wyatt is in the top chat, and he says, you're the epitome of a class act. Thanks, Wyatt. You're too kind. Thanks for doing the top chat. Thanks for visiting me here on Mother's Day. Once again, happy to all the moms out there. Happy Mother's Day, excuse me, to all the moms out there. And if there is any watching. And why are your eyes crossed weirdly? The cheeky monkey. I'm just going to answer that question completely honestly. Birth. It happened at birth. Well, I don't know. Maybe I was like that in the womb, but it's called strabismus, and it happens. It's a handicap. People have handicaps. That's one thing that can happen to you sometimes. Santa Monica is a cool part of LA, says SD Design. I totally agree. I had a great time living there. I spent about 6 years out there. Only thing about it is that it's, here's the thing about LA. Nowhere in LA is perfect. That's what I find. Just like any city, probably nowhere has it all, like where you're like completely stoked on wherever you are. And the problem with Santa Monica is that, here's the two things that I found about it. Not a lot of rock and roll going on out there. So like music scene and stuff like that, not so much going on in Santa Monica. I didn't have a lot in common, I felt like, with a lot of people out there. So there was that. And then the other thing is you're very removed from the rest of LA. So if you're trying to get anywhere after, say, 2 p.m., you can just forget about getting to the other side of the 405 because it ain't going to happen unless you want to sit in traffic for 3 hours to get anywhere. So you're kind of, it's a little isolating. Like I felt like I'd moved to another city I'd go into LA once in a while, you know, and then it'd be like there'd be some new building going up or other stuff. Like, God, it's changing here. And yet this is the city that I sort of still live in. I mean, it's its own city, Santa Monica, but you know, if there was no traffic, I could go to Hollywood in 20 minutes, right? But if there's traffic, it takes like 2.5 hours. So you just didn't do it that much. So that's the only thing about LA and Santa Monica in particular is that it's pretty tough to get around, and it's expensive. Like, the rent is, you know, it's crazy. And unless you're, you know, a millionaire, just forget about trying to buy anything over there. It's a really, really high cost of living, but a great place to live. And the magic thing in Santa Monica that I found, it made me really enjoy it, was riding a bike. If you live in Santa Monica, or if you visit there, even just ride a bike everywhere, and it's really great. You can bike everywhere in Santa Monica. Just leave the car parked. I started to really appreciate it more. Like, I felt like I wasn't even. I liked it, but like the things that bothered me about it were pretty significant. When I got a bike, it was like, oh my God, I love this place. All of a sudden, I could just drive to the beach, and like, you know, in 5 minutes, I could be there from my place and riding on the bike path, you know, along the beach and stuff. I would just do that all the time, and I found myself driving way less, and it made me, you know, I was just outdoors way more, and I really started to enjoy it a lot then. It was great. Overall, I really like it. What's my favorite song that I've ever played on guitar? That's from the Cheeky Monkey. My favorite song that I've ever played on guitar? God, I don't know, dude. That's too hard to say. I mean, you guys know I'm a big Van Halen fan, so I love learning those songs and playing. There's something so satisfying about it. If you can get the feel and the riffs under your fingers and play one of those songs, that I really enjoy it from a hobbyist perspective. Like, you know, the riff to Beautiful Girls or something. It's just so fun. You can't not smile once you're getting it and you're playing it. And it's like, you know, if you're in the groove playing that kind of stuff, that is so fun to me. Yeah. Okay. Anybody else that I'm missing here? Questions? I'm just gonna move to the end of the chat, and then I'm gonna split here pretty soon. This is what I miss most about being in a band, is guitar talk, says Shizzy's. Thanks, he says. That's awesome. Please come join anytime. Coffee and guitars. Does Pete surf? No, I don't. But I went out with a girl that was a really, really good surfer for a long time, and so I was. I became kind of a fan of surfing, actually, through just like watching and stuff. It's a fun sport to even just watch people that are good at it. I can go to the beach and sit there and just watch people surfing. I'm not cool with getting out there myself, though. It's that ain't my comfort zone at all. But I am fascinated kind of by it, and I like being around surf culture and stuff. It's interesting to me. So Derek says hi from South Africa. What's up? How you doing down there? I visited there once 10 or 11 years ago. George says Pete is always keeping it classy. You got to keep it classy. Don't descend into the bullshit. You guys are too kind. Thanks for being here, and hanging with me on Mother's Day. Anybody else? I'm going to split pretty soon. Right to the end of the chat here. Last couple things. Have I ever used Mesa Mark V? What's my opinion? I played the Mark V 25 at Michael Thompson's studio, and I thought it sounded really good on the one tone he had it dialed in on. That's the only time I've played one, but what a great lead sound. It's actually a really nice sounding amp, I thought. Best roommate I ever had was a chill surfer dude who smoked pot and surfed after work. That's Renaissance man. Yeah, surfers are pretty chill. They're pretty cool. Although in LA, it can get a little gnarly, the localism thing and stuff. There's also some gnarly ones out there that are, you know, it's like people, this is my beach. We own these waves, that kind of thing. LA is pretty competitive that way. So, but surfers in general are great people. You know, they're in touch with the earth and they like being outside, and you know, I don't know, that tends to make people happy. They can't be on their phone when they're out there in the water. So that's all good stuff, right? I don't know, they're just sort of more in touch with, you know what I mean? stuff that is cool. Pete, when you using the PT100 dirt channel and an Archer overdrive, where is a good place to place my phaser and flanger before the overdrive pedal? If you're Eddie Van Halen, you'd run all the phaser and flanger stuff into drive. If you want a really pronounced flange effect, you want it to come after the drive, so you could run it in the effects loop of the amp. If you want more of that, then it'll be really swooshy and stuff. If you want more of that Eddie Van Halen or like Alex Lifeson even, and run it in front. Phaser, to me, is great in front of drive. Once again, that was Eddie Van Halen teaching me that, but just by his actions. He used to run, the phaser would be first, I think, in his pedal chain in front of the flange and everything. And phasing, can work really nice. So in my pedal board, my phaser comes in loop 4, and then my drives start in loop 5, 6, 7, like that. So my phaser's in front. The flanger is, I guess I run my flanger kind of up there too. It's in front of my drives, but I'm running flanger. I do run it in front, don't I? Okay. Yeah, I had to think about it for a minute. Where's my Mobius? And it's actually in loop 3 on my pedal board, and the phaser's in 4, but I never use them at the same time. So they're in front of drive. Paul says he's in the top chat. He says, thanks for the show. Always enjoy the guitar gab. Treat yourself to a coffee. Thanks, man. Appreciate that. My new thing with coffee, folks, is oat milk. You guys tried oat milk in your coffee? Damn, that is good. I prefer it to regular milk. It's got this great flavor. It's like super tasty. So give that a shot. If you could go to a coffee shop that's got, kind of snobby coffee shop, you'll probably find oat milk there, and it's tasty. Good. Get a latte made with oat milk or whatever, and it's rich and awesome. Renaissance Man says, right on, Pete. Totally agree. He's talking about surfing again. Although I'm terrible at surfing, but I love scuba diving. That's awesome. That's kind of scary too. I get it. I don't know about you guys, but when I get under the ocean, get under the water there, if it starts getting a little deep and stuff, I get a little freaked out. Like, oh, I don't belong down here. This isn't my zone. I am an alien, and it freaks me out a little bit. So that's the only thing. But I love snorkeling, and I love doing it for a few minutes. But I always have this. My anxiety goes up as soon as I get in the water. So snorkeling, like reasonable snorkeling. I can show you guys an amazing video that I did. At one point I went to Hawaii, and I was convinced to swim way out off of the west shore of Oahu and out to where these dolphins come in, and they're mating. That's actually what they come in. But at a certain time, there's always dolphins out there, like a lot of dolphins. And I swam with people that knew what they were doing. I swam all the way out to, and I was out there, and I was scared shitless. But because I was with people that knew what they were doing, it was one of the most amazing things I've ever done, because I was scared. I was scared of sharks. Somebody told me, like, hey, you don't need to worry about sharks because dolphins scare off sharks. If there's dolphins around, sharks don't want to have anything to do with them because they'll gang up on them. So I thought, all right. And I just cautioned to the wind, and I swam out because I can swim decent. And the most incredible thing is you can hear the dolphins before you see them, way before you can see them, because their chatter comes through, like, the water is like, it's like sonar or whatever. It's like, it's super clear. So you hear them talking, and they're talking, and it's amazing to hear that. Like, they're having conversations. When you see them, first of all, you're like, all of a sudden I was surrounded by dolphins, and it was absolutely one of the most incredible things. I could look around, there'd be like 50 dolphins, in any direction. It was just like, and I was out there with them, and they're all talking to one another. When you get closer to them, their talk changes. They're talking to one another. Like, who's this guy? Like, who's this weirdo? Let's get away from this dude. But anyway, that was one of the most incredible things I've ever done. I don't know that I would ever do it again, because somehow I got up the courage to do that, because I get freaked out under there. It's weird, but man, it was good. That day was cool. Incidentally, on Mother's Day, I'll tell the story. That was the last day I ever talked to my mom. My mom passed away in 2012. And that night, I remember calling her after I'd had that experience. And I called her on the phone. I couldn't get in touch with her, and I started getting worried about her. And eventually at 10:30 at night, or 11 at night, something like that, which is really late where she was, because I was in Hawaii. So it was about 1:30 in the morning or something. She picked up the phone. And I was kind of freaking out, and because I was like, what's going on? Like, why is she not picking up the phone in the middle of, like, all the way through the evening, in the middle of the night. Finally got her on the phone and we talked for about 10 minutes. I said, I just want to talk to you for a minute. I know it's late. She's like, oh, I'm sorry. She been out at a concert and we had a good talk. And I told her that I'd had this amazing experience that day in Hawaii and it was incredible. And anyway, I hung up the phone and she passed away about 5 days after that. So I'm so glad that had I not had that experience, I might not have called her, and I might not have been so persistent about calling her and then gotten worried or whatever. But totally unexpectedly, by the way, how she ended up passing away. But it was really that experience that got me to call her on the phone and, connect with her that one last time. That's the last time we ever talked. So I don't mean to end on that sort of melancholy. It's a good thing, actually, that happened. So, but on Mother's Day, that's my Mother's Day story. So that's why I'm here and not hanging with my mom on Mother's Day. Anyways, somebody has got one last. Let's end on a guitar note here. Jay Stoner KSTR says, why the speaker change in your cabinet? So in the new PT15 cabinet, we've got a greenback in the kind of top. I guess if you're looking at the cabinet, it's in the top left, and then the V30's in the bottom right, in the bottom. And we just tried all the different speakers. We tried the Creamback H's, which we used in the other, for the PT100 cabinet. Sound great. Really, really good sound. But overall, when we were listening to, first of all, with the PT100, greenbacks weren't really an option because in a 212, you wouldn't have enough power for a 100-watt amp. So for power handling, we needed to use something other than a greenback. And it's just the G12 Creamback 75 was the speaker that we settled on for that cabinet. It just sounded the most balanced, and it did everything from clean through dirty really, really well. Similar thing with the new cabinet. We tried it, but when we tried the blend of the greenback and the V30, it just kind of had it all as well for that particular amp. It's not the same amp. So for whatever reason, it's not the same cabinet, same dimensions or anything like that. We listened to everything, and that was just, everybody kind of agreed, like all the folks that had a hand in designing the amp and stuff, and came up into the room at SUR. I put up a picture of it a few days ago on my, is it on Instagram or no, maybe it was in a Gear Page thread about I should post that picture on Instagram. Actually, it's interesting. It's 4 cabinets all lined up with the 15 in the middle. And we listened to, Greenbacks, V30s, Creamback H's, I think we listened to Creamback 65s too, blends of all of them, and just tried as many different things as we could. And yeah, everybody was like, this cabinet has it all, the greenback and the V30. And it's a good, Dave Friedman's like, oh, you stole my idea. He's my buddy. He's like, he's been doing that for years in his cabinets, greenback and V30. So we knew we had to try that blend, but it is a great blend. You've got the V30 in the bottom. It's a little louder, a little more efficient by a dB or two, I think. And then the greenback's in the top. So putting the V30 in the bottom is a nice way to kind of mitigate that and balance them. And the greenback in the top has a little bit of a, it doesn't quite have that upper mid spike that the V30 in the bottom has. So, but you want the V30, I think, sometimes for, certain tones. And then you've got the option of miking the different speaker, for a different sound. So we just thought we'd try something different, and it seemed to sound great and work really well. Anyways, guys. All right. You guys have an awesome week. Have a great rest of your Mother's Day. And Peter's in Madrid. And what's up? Oh, he's got one more question. What is it? Can I talk about strat wiring for vintage 2 and 4 reverse wound on one of the pickups? Stagger magnets important. Also confusing for a lefty. He's asking about reverse wind, reverse polarity to cancel in 2 and 4. It's a pretty standard thing. I wouldn't have any reservations about that. The staggered magnet thing is something that's left over from the 60s, and you don't necessarily need to do that anymore because string gauges are different now and stuff like that. So, but it's all about, if you want a vintage sound or not, I guess. I use all I can suggest is I use V60 LP pickups from SUR that I really love. I think they sound terrific, and that's my choice. And what you might want to do is look at the SUR, the way that they wire them, especially if you do anything with like a humbucker in the bridge, because they've got a thing where the single coils will see the 250, volume pot, and they'll see the 500K volume pot if you're on a humbucker. So I just go with whatever the kind of the SUR standard thing is these days, and that's all I know. And yeah, I agree, it can be confusing for lefty, but you should, if it's a lefty, you know, you're going to want to flip the pickup or whatever and have the same stagger that you would have if the guitar was going this way. That's all I'll say. Otherwise, it'd be weird. So, all right, guys, I'm going to split. That's it for me. Time to get some lunch and make some videos in here about some stuff. So you'll see my YouTube output increasing a little bit. I'm going to be kicking ass and making lots of videos. These guys coming soon. The exotic pedals, super clean and super sweet, as well as the Constellation Fuzz treble booster. Eventide Rose, I believe it's called, delay. That'll be coming real soon here. Iron Man attenuator for those that want to attenuate their tube amps. And I'm also gonna do some fun stuff with the Synergy preamps. So I want to use the Synergy preamps to try and kind of in configurations where I'm going to augment, like use them with a PT15 with the Syn 1. So that I can get like even a 4th channel and plug that in and see how that sounds. Also with a Helix maybe, so that I can add like a tube preamp to the Line 6 Helix and insert it like an effect, but then have the actual, some people out there are doing that kind of crazy stuff these days. Still got Amps in the Zone Vox coming that I'm going to make over the next couple of weeks, and lots of PT15 videos and stuff like that coming soon to show you all the capabilities of that amplifier. Bye. Happy Mother's Day. Thanks for being here, you guys.